details on the Afghan terror suspect accused of shooting 2 National Guardsmen near the White House, what we are learning and how it could impact U.S. asylum policy moving forward. Good morning. I'm Dana Perino. Bill is off today. Good morning, Aisha.
Good morning to you and welcome back to you, Dana.
Thank you.
I'm Aisha Hasni in for Bill. This is America's Newsroom. That suspect is accused of shooting specialist Sarah Beckstrom and Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf. Beckstrom died from her injuries last week. Wolf remains in critical condition and is said to be fighting for his life.
The suspect fought in the Afghan army and he came here legally in 2021. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem on what happened next.
We know that this individual came into the country under Operation Allies Welcome and during the Biden administration. We believe he was radicalized since he's been here in this country. We do believe it was through connections in his home community and state, and we're going to continue to talk to those who interacted with him, who were his family members, talk to them.
All of this is now prompting President Trump to announce what he calls a permanent pause on migration from, quote, third world countries. He is also vowing to deport some immigrants who are already here. The president defending the plan as a necessity.
How long does your administration plan to pause asylum into the U.S.?
I think a long time.
Can you give any
We
kind
don't
of
want
time?
them.
What's
We
a
don't
long
want those
time?
people. We have enough problems. We don't want those people.
Is there a list of...
Well, I guess we gave you 19, right? There's probably more than that. They're very crime-ridden countries. They're countries that don't do a good job. They're countries that don't register from the standpoint of success. And we, frankly, don't need their people coming into our country telling us what to do.
Allow me to introduce myself. Gus Polinski, Polka King of the Midwest. The Kenosha Kickers. No? That's okay. I thought you might have recognized. Anyways, I had a few hits a few years ago. That's why I, just polka, 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 polka. No? Twin Lakes Polka, Damavuji Polka, a.k.a. Kiss Me Polka, Polka Twist.
Well, these are songs.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Jerry, you've done it! You beautiful man, you sweet Christmas child. Welcome to the Christmas studio for the Betty Show. Yes, we are Christmas maxing. It is officially December 1st, 2025. A blessed Christmas season to you and to yours. We are going to be Christmas maxing, even though some of the content of the show will certainly be serious in its subject matter. We want to seriously talk about how we make Christmas great again on this program, and we welcome you officially to the holiday season. A short tour around our brand new studio, presented by the great Killer Klein, who's in studio with me every single day. You will see the stockings hung by the studio camera with great care. You will see the wreaths, holly, a Christmas tree, decorated with all of our custom ornaments, and a nativity scene right there above the American flag. A reminder of what this season is all about. Also, some very cheerful ornaments hung on the AR-15. It's a classic Christmas. And Jerry has promised me in a private phone call and in legal stationery that he was forced to sign that all of the memes for the next 3 weeks of December up until Christmas Eve will be Christmas themed. Jerry has said so on legally binding documentation that his attorneys and my attorneys went back and forth all weekend over, and we finally were able to get it notarized. It's done, it's set, it's sealed. Jerry will only deliver from the high Christmas snow-capped mountains of Nevada, where he lives, Christmas memes for the entire month of December. So a Christmas cheer to you, ladies and gentlemen, and let us begin with our show today. A Christmas miracle? Will Ilhan Omar get deported? Wrap it and send it away, ladies and gentlemen, on Santa's sleigh. That's what President Trump is saying. Why would that be a good thing? We'll cover it on this program. We're going to talk about the history of immigration in America. What is immigration in America? What's the purpose of it exactly? Kash Patel says that all of the contents from Trump's Russia burn bag hoax will be made public. My goodness, that will be quite a story. Daryl Issa will be on to talk about it, along with Steve Hilton, who's doing great in his run for governor of California. An interesting time, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Of course, we're going to jump right into the ornament promo. And for the first time in history, I will be able to walk back in my studio and get you an ornament from our tree. Let me make sure they don't pull my ears out here. Okay, here we go. Where we go? What are we going to pick? We'll pick one from the tree every single day. Here, we'll go with it was Thanksgiving. You probably ate too much on Thanksgiving, so I'm bringing you the RFK. Don't. That's what he says. It's getting focus here. There you go. Thank you. Don't, says RFK, with the candy cane dangling there. Don't you dare. There's probably some food dyes in that candy cane. Too much sugar. You can get all your Christmas ornaments for $5 in our store. $5. How do you do it, Benny? You must be working with the dirty communists. Nope, I'm not. We are working exclusively with American veterans in manufacturing here in America. We make every single ornament here in America. They're stamped with Bible verses. They're stamped with the sign and the seal of incredible American patriots, your fellow countrymen, packing them, stuffing these stockings straight to you and out the door, shipping. And beautiful Klein, I love this B-roll. Klein went up and captured the B-roll himself, was able to spend a whole day at the factory. It's awesome, ladies and gentlemen. Wild. Look at this. Ornaments ready to ship. We've shipped nearly 40,000 of them so far, and we want to make your season bright. So please go to the Benny store today. Okay, rock and roll. We're going to talk a little bit about the value of having Christians in your society. Christians during Christmas, it just really locks in. It makes sense. And since that's the theme of the show and it is December 1st, we might as well just begin with talking about Christian care before getting into, let's just say, a very serious subject today when it comes to uncontrolled third world migration and importation, and why that is so horrible for your country, why that makes you a conquered people. And ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of concerns. That's one of them. Your health care certainly is also one. Premiums are going to skyrocket, and it's going to get nasty out there. You should sign up for Medishare. My wife and I use Medishare. It's not part of the ad. This is not something that, this is something that we decided years ago before Medishare became a partner with the program. It's something that we've used because it is a Christian company, because it has extremely high standards as to who they let into their care network. And because they have high standards, and because they want the best for you, and because they have that, well, let's just use it, because they were asking for that sort of Maha life, actually, that clean Maha living, well, let me tell you, man, it is demonstrably cheaper than any other healthcare plan. It's how we had all of our babies. And ladies and gentlemen, it's how millions of Americans get care every single year at a steep discount because they're using the value and the strength of the network itself in order to provide the best care. A network of excellent Christians and patriotic Americans who love their country and want to live healthy. So ladies and gentlemen, if you want that in the new year, it's an easy option for you. You can go to Medishare.com/Benny, Medishare.com/Benny, or send a text message, and you'll get info that could really help you and your family out. Text the word Benny to 70246. Text the word Benny to 70246, and you'll get the link. Message and data rates will apply, and it'll make you a lot healthier. I can promise you that. Okay. Let's talk about some things that are unhealthy in our societies. Jerry is now saying in the production chat that it was an auto pen that signed it. He didn't sign anything, okay? That is null and void. All right, we're going to the Supreme Court, Jerry. We're going to the Supreme Court. That's a really funny meme, man. Jerry, just a request. You don't, it just is what it is. Or a humble request. Please, Jerry, please consider doing just Home Alone. Just Home Alone memes. If you can muster it, go for it. Okay, so Christmas markets in Germany look like this. Why, ladies and gentlemen? Why? Why are there barriers up? Why are there huge road blocking barriers up? They can paint them any candy cane color paint they want. Why are there massive barriers being installed around the Christmas markets in some of the oldest cities in Christendom, frankly? In the cradle, the birthplace of Christendom. Why? Why is that? For the first time in history, the famous Christmas markets of Germany have ram road blocking vehicle barriers. It's because Germany is quickly ceasing to become a Christian nation. It's because Germany is 20% Muslim now. And those Muslims tend to attack markets where there are a bunch of Christian children at them. Well, that's a horrible what? Let's talk about the why. And the why is because Germany is suicidal in their immigration policies, bringing people in that were incongruent with Western freedoms and society. That's it. It's as simple as. And they decided to let people in that were eventually, over a long enough period of time, going to revolt and attack, parasitically, like a virus against the hosts. This is, of course, a horrible evil, and it's played out time and time again in data all across Europe. And I'll show you some European data. Here, this is from Denmark. These are the populations of crime in Denmark. So when people move to Denmark, what does the crime rate look like per group, per cluster from each individual country? Maybe you'll be shocked by this. Maybe you won't. But I think that we can all agree that less crime is something that we want in our countries. And so you're going to have to ask the question, why would we bring people into our countries to make them far more dangerous and horrifying? And that's a question that we're going to struggle with today on the show. The answer is obvious, by the way, as to why it's happening. Let's go ahead and look. What are the countries of origin of the highest crime? Kuwait, Somalia, Lebanon, Tunisia, Jordan, Uganda, Iraq, Morocco, Algeria, Ethiopia, Syria, Afghanistan, Egypt, Iran, Turkey, Kenya, Ghana, Myanmar, Pakistan, Tanzania, Chile, Israel. Okay, well, then there's your top 20, let's just say. Nigeria, Bosnia, Herzegovina, okay. Well, this is a great question. What do the vast majority, what do 90% of these countries have in common in the top 20? And then you can scroll down to the bottom 20 and you can see, it's all European countries. The United States is down near the very bottom. Australia, Japan at the very tippy top. The Japanese, very orderly in the way that they live life. Very congruent, frankly, with Western society in a unique way. Higher than actually Western society in some regards, I think many would argue. When it comes to cleanliness, or when it comes to order, or when it comes to rule following, the Japanese are peak. It used to be the British, but they've sunken as well. What are all the most horrifying countries that make a place? Again, this is Denmark crime rate. Make a place, this is true across all Western societies. All Western societies have maps and data, if they're man enough to actually publish it, that look exactly like this. All of these are Muslim countries, not majority Muslim countries, because there's no such thing. A Muslim country is a purist Muslim country. What happens in a Muslim country is there is really no freedom of speech. There's no freedom of religion. There's no women's rights, right? There are none of the freedoms or liberties that we typically experience in the Western Hemisphere, in the Anglosphere, that we've grown up with, the bread and the bones for not just your grandpappy's age, but you're talking about John Locke. You're talking about going back 1600. You're talking about hundreds of years ago. Your greatest great-great-great-great-grandfather and grandmother were absorbing these freedoms. Were absorbing the worldviews of Adam Smith and some of the great proselytizers of the day, the founders of our nation, completely imbued with English thought, that wrote the Magna Carta, that inspired some French, some English, the philosophies of our founders, and that's been bred in the bone in us. That's why we believe the way that we do about private property. That's why we don't see women as property. That's why we don't see human beings as property. That Yes, there was slavery in America. Yes, it happened a long time ago. Yes, we gave a lot in this country to abolish it. Nobody ever thanks us for that. Yes, we abolished it 100 plus, nearly going on 200 years ago. The English Christian Empire was the first to abolish it, followed quickly by America. Nobody gave up more than America to actually abolish slavery. 500,000 Americans dead, bloodiest civil war, arguably in human history, certainly in the developed world. But everyone agrees that slavery is evil. It's unchristian. This against my religion, okay? And so, yes, slavery is evil, and it's good that we abolish it, obviously. Everyone would I will join hands with anyone that says, like, slavery is wrong, we shouldn't do it. Okay, good, yeah. But, like, we're so obsessed with this practice that was done away with 200 years ago in our nation at great cost, righteously, and nobody ever focuses on the fact that, like, in these countries here that are here on the top of the crime line, that slavery is legal. Slavery, like modern day slavery, just like 10 million people, according to just the round estimates, that are enslaved today in Africa, in the sort of the Muslim and African diaspora. Do you know that, like, the horrors of slavery that, you have to crack open a book and see illustrations? That's real today. You just go see it happening today. And nobody ever is concerned about that. Why? You're not allowed to be. Because we want to import those people into our lands. What? Seems totally antithetical to the West. Why would we bring slavers back over here? Didn't we pay a high enough price already? But that's precisely what we're doing. And, you need to start asking some really tough questions about, like, what exactly is the purpose of immigration? Like, is the purpose of immigration to go have to relitigate whether slavery is good or whether women are property? Is that the point? At a speech earlier this month, I got a chance to travel with J.D. Vance to Ole Miss and listen to him talk about the 1924 Immigration Act. I said, we got to go back to that. And these are the kind of things that are just way over a lot of people's heads. Are people even alive from 1924? I mean, doubt it if, you're 100 years old, right? You're over 100 years old if you were alive in 1924. So nobody really remembers it. Nobody knows what it is. But it's worth, like, illustrating why did J.D. Vance care so much about this, and why did he bring it up inside of this stadium packed with 10,000 kids when he knows that, a lot of people's eyes are going to glaze over when you start talking about treaties and laws from 1924, the Immigration Act of 1924. Calvin Coolidge signed it into law, and what it effectively said was America's full. At this point, America was full, but it was full of a lot of different European cultures that were brought here with extremely heightened senses of their own enclave. It's something that we're experiencing right now. And history has a tendency to repeat itself. It has a tendency to repeat itself in 100-year cycles. Pretty remarkable, that, but it does. And at this time, Calvin Coolidge was looking out at, like, wars between the Irish and the Italians. I guess they're still doing it on the East Coast, but, like, literal wars between the Irish and the Italians, totally in wholly German-speaking enclaves throughout the Midwest, where you weren't even allowed in if you weren't German. That's a matter of fact. Like, colonies that refused entry to people that didn't speak German. Was looking through French Louisiana, the Norse countries, sort of taking over what would be, like, very preferential lands that sort of mirrored Norse culture and the Norse economy and the Norse weather systems up north. That's why you can still have, like, you still see Swedish villages all throughout, like, upper Michigan and Minnesota. And President Calvin Coolidge, while it wasn't Somali at the time, he did see, like effectively the boiling pot of Europe, which was in between two massive world wars, ripped and destroyed Europe forever. Obviously, World War I and World War II just ended what we know as like great Europe. You wouldn't if you traveled back in time and saw Europe in like the early 1900s, wouldn't recognize it. It's like a Disney movie, right? It's like a land that is inconceivable in its cultural majesty, beauty, and what you could rightly call diversity, actually, of thought and rich culture. It's been atomized, it's been destroyed, and they committed suicide over it. It's just a matter of fact. It's terrible. But the point is that all of those rich and imbued cultures, many of them non-English speaking, frankly, from Europe, came to America, washed ashore on America, because Europe had become quite crowded and stifling for economic activity. And Calvin Coolidge, pardon the dad pun here, literally said, "Cool it." He said, "Stop, we can't continue like this. We're going to break apart as America again. We just fought a civil war. We're going to break apart as a country. We already are doing that. We're going to fight another civil war, and it's just going to be like Europe all over again. We're just going to recreate the problems of Europe here. So we're stopping all immigration." He plainly stated, "New arrivals must be limited to our own capacity to absorb them. America must be kept American. For this purpose, it is now necessary to enact a policy of restricted immigration." The 1924 Act passed the House and the Senate, overwhelming support. Democrats and Republicans agreed. That's something, of course, that you wouldn't get today, and we'll cover exactly why. The bill introduced tight immigration quotas, new visa requirements, border patrol, outright banned immigration from the majority of countries on Earth, frankly, that we viewed as incompatible with our culture, dramatically reduced the number of people coming into the country to net zero, right? So there was a small trickle of immigrants that were allowed from high culture, high society, Western societies, English-speaking societies, but it was like effectively at the rate of like people are dying here in our country, and we're bringing in a few more to just sort of even it out, right? By 1940s and 50s, American society thrived with a booming economy, rising middle class, common culture, virtually purely homogeneous culture, frankly. You had, I think it was somewhere close to like 98 to 97% like Christian. Limited, severely limited immigration. The act was in place until 1965, when the imbeciles in charge, that generation has since died, can't blame the boomers for this or anything like that, they were children at this time, but the imbeciles in charge, because they were drunk on their own power after winning 2 world wars. Do we seem like a country that won a world war? Do we seem like we're dominant in our culture or our understanding of who we are as a people? No, we do not. Neither do the countries of Europe, who won or lost the wars, frankly. Since then, we've experienced decades of historic immigration, both legal and illegal, and today we have higher levels of foreign-born populations than the early 1900s by both raw numbers and percentage of populations. What I'm saying is it's repeated itself. The mass immigration has also included vastly different cultures than the mostly Europeans that we accepted then, and obviously, once again, we need to make a national policy shift, and it should be bipartisan. It's time for another immigration act. So there you go. You can see the little political cartoon of the time. There's a political cartoon that was published in 1924 that shows the huddled masses and refuse of the world wishing to come to America for a better life, and a gate being put upon them saying 3% per year, and we're going to be very, very choosy and very picky. I bring this up to say that what President Trump is on the precipice of doing is something like this. And we're going to start calling for on our show a new immigration act. We can just use the language of the 1924 Immigration Act, quite frankly, because we are witnessing the exact same problem. We are witnessing our country come apart at the seams. We are witnessing entire enclaves of peoples who are wholly foreign, not only to our land, people, native, tongue, but also to our culture. And it is really ugly and horrible to watch great American cities, high trust societies. We're just going to take, for example, and pick on purposefully Minneapolis, Minnesota. As we talked about before in the show, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Minnesota as a whole was seen as sort of a fiefdom of Germanic, Swedish, and Norse culture. It sort of reflects, in a way, the climate of the Norse countries, and it was a famous landing ground for Lutherans, sort of an enclave itself. Today, of course, it reflects none of that high trust society, and that also made, of course, Minnesota very clean, tidy, high functioning, virtually zero crime, high trust society in those days. But those days are long gone. Our friend Nick Shirley just traveled to the streets of Minneapolis to detail what it looks like today, what has happened to Minnesota, and Minneapolis in particular. Minneapolis decided to absorb, during the Bush and Obama years, hundreds of thousands of Somalis. It's hard to think of a culture that is more opposite than the American founding, than the Anglosphere diaspora that birthed our founding fathers in this country, but certainly birthed our native heritage. Somalia isn't really a country. It's more like a region of nomadic, warring Muslim terrorist organizations who fight for just basic resources, incredible levels of starvation, murder, child sacrifice, piracy. The entire country is, like borders the sea. You can see it on a map. A perfect place for a massive shipping port or capacity to do trade in and out of. There's not a single modern port in all of Somalia. There's barely electricity. It's a totally collapsed and failed state. Frankly, it's not really even a real country. It begs the question, of course, why would we be bringing anyone over from this land if the purpose of immigration is to enrich our nation and not the people that we're bringing over? And that's really the rub there, is that the only people getting rich off this are the actual Somalis, who have zero interest in being Americans. And they say that proudly. They pledge allegiance to Somalia. They just changed the Minnesota flag to look like a Somali flag. And so this is what failed assimilation, but also the humiliation of the people of Minnesota, and then by extension all of America, looks like. Here we go.
What's it like being a Muslim here in the United States?
I'm not speaking English, only one Somali language.
What does it mean to you to be a part of Islam?
I don't know, I'm not speaking English very well.
How are you? Do any of you speak English? English? No. Can women speak on camera? No. I kept going because I wanted to speak with some more of the elders here to see if they could share their story about coming here from Somalia and how they've seen the rise firsthand. However,
Hello.
None of them spoke English.
How are you? Can I ask any of you guys some questions? No? Speak English?
English no.
No? Do any of you speak English?
After a few interviews, somebody came up to us angry because we were asking people about the rise of Islam inside this
My name
community.
is Dick Shirley.
What are you doing?
My name is Dick Shirley. I'm a YouTuber. We're doing a video on the rise of Islam here in the United States.
The rise of Islam.
Yeah, it's the number one converting religion.
The rise of Islam. Make it make sense for me.
Yeah, it's the number one it's the number one converting religion in the United States. So we're doing a top
the
subject
number
on it.
one converting religion in the United States.
It's like the number one growing religion. So
wait, isn't it after Christ?
What?
Isn't it after Christ?
This guy wouldn't show his face on camera, and this conversation kept going for a few minutes, and he demanded that we deleted the footage of the interviews that we took here on the street. I said no, and he said, you better go, and we're gonna make sure you leave.
I've never been in a situation like that while I've been filming, where somebody comes out of nowhere and wants to take the footage. I was watching a video prior to this video, and there is a Somali gang war going on here inside of these apartment complexes, apparently. I think we just went upon a gang, and I didn't know that they were a gang. And right now, he said, you better leave, and we're gonna make sure you get out of here. So right now, there's somebody following from behind, making sure that we get out of this place. Not the most friendly welcome here into this part of Minnesota.
outside of Somalia, the USA is the number one place of residence for Somalis. Why? You could obviously do a bunch of, go into the IQ numbers. You could go into all of the fraud numbers. We're going to do that in just a second. You could talk about the incredible incidents of fraud and crime that Somali populations have brought to Minneapolis. It's just empirical. I mean, listen, the data's all there. I'll read to you all of the DOJ filings, and we'll be happy to in just a moment. A piece of empirical data shocked me, however, about the second cousin marriage rates among Somali populations. We asked Grok about this. Danny, you're going to have to grab the actual Grok analysis. But it comes from some peer-reviewed studies from the late 90s, early 2000s, saying somewhere in the range of 40% of the Somali population is based on first cousin marriages or second cousin marriages. Don't get mad at me, you know. This is the data. So the precise data is limited. But a 2019 study of Ethiopian Somalis found 48% are products of first or second cousin marriages. The average inbreeding coefficient higher than typical second cousin offspring regional rates, similar cultures. Okay. Well, how about this? Here's like a great, here's a fantastic rule. In Somalia, a place where, I mean, I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, you know, to be deported there. However, I don't ever plan on visiting. In Somalia, since that's their land and I guess like their place, they can just kind of do what they want. I can disagree with it from afar. I can be upset about it, I guess. I can tweet about it. But I have no say there because I'm not Somali and I don't ever plan on living there or visiting, frankly, ever. They can just keep doing that, and that's up to them. That's their business. But why bring it here? Sharia law is incompatible with Western culture. It's not in favor of free speech. It's not in favor of freedom of religion. It's not in favor of separation of church and state. It's in favor of actually, forced conversions by the state. You cannot curse the name Muhammad. You cannot say certain things. You, of course, have rules about the relationships between men and women and children that would seem utterly abhorrent. And obviously, the inbreeding coefficient here, given this study, is something that every developed culture should be rightly repulsed at, because we know scientifically this will lead to very bad results. Okay, when it comes to actually having children, if you constrict that genetic pool tightly enough, you're going to have horrendous results, diminishing down to effectively just stillbirths. It's horrible. Why bring it here? And, it's frankly none of my business. I'm not here to scold Somalia. I'm not here to scold any country. I hate that we're obsessed with Israel. I hate that we're obsessed with Ukraine. I want out. I'm so done talking about it. We have enough problems here in America, which is what President Trump put up actually this weekend in a spectacular post. Don't we have enough problems in America? Why are we bringing tribal blood feuds from the time of Abraham onto our shores? What good does that do for us? And more importantly, will these people ever become Americans? What I mean by that is not the slip of paper, not the stamp, you're we've given you all, you're all dreamers, right? No, what I mean by that is somebody who gives up their native land and fully clings to the flag, to our culture, to our language, to our sense of rights, our ethos, our understanding of self, which is, by the way, hanging on by a thread. And the answer to that is obviously and empirically, demonstrably, no, they won't. You can see that on full display in Minneapolis. where there are complete no-go zones, where that American citizen, Nick Shirley, who has a great channel, you should follow it on YouTube, where he was incapable of even walking on the streets of his country. Also, look at how filthy and dingy and dirty all the shots are. And the reality is that when you bring the third world here, they don't suddenly become first world. You've just brought the worst qualities of the third world and brought them into the first world, and they'll stay third world. The third world is the third world because of the cultures, the peoples, the traditions of the third world. That's why we call it that. We don't dump all of our trash in our rivers and just expect the water to carry the mountains of refuse out to the ocean. That's not what we do here. We like being tidy. We like things being clean. We like using we like being sanitary and using toilets. The biggest black pill, I guess you could call it a brown pill, frankly, is pooping in India. I didn't actually know how bad it was. It's something like 60-70% of people don't use toilets. But by choice. They're not available, but they prefer open defecation. We've presented the studies here. I'm not trying to be, whatever you'd want to call it. And if you're offended by the data, then that's on you, man. That's not on me. The prevalence and burden of no toilet households in India. Analysis. Okay. Dig into the data here, or don't, frankly, not before lunch. But you'll find that it's grotesque. But it's a major question. Like, if we've solved these problems in ourselves, and it took a lot, we spilled a lot of blood and spent a lot of time, a lot of effort solving these problems as an American people, and we're certainly not perfect, but we did end slavery, and we do have an abundance of rights for all peoples, and we have, I think, what could be described as the most the most metaphysical representation of Christendom in our American, the ethos of Christendom in our American documents, governing documents, meaning all of the qualities that make Christianity the most peaceful religion on earth, have been imbued in our nation and its governance, and have proven out to be well worth the wait and the effort to get us here, then why bring people in that undermine all of that? It's a suicidal practice. It's something that isn't going well, according to the New York Times. I mean, this is just wild. I can't believe that this is real. How fraud swamped Minnesota's social services system. How fraud swamped Minnesota's social services system on Tim Walz's watch. My goodness. Our friend Chris Rufo published this article in the City Journal talking about how Minnesota taxpayers are the largest funders of Somali terrorism. How they do this? Well, the Somali populations of Minnesota found yet another loophole in the taking advantage of the good-hearted Christian taxpayer of America, and by using coercion and by using just flat-out fraud, claiming that all of their children were autistic, they were able to accelerate the autism payments from the welfare state of Minnesota from $3 million in 2018 to $400 million in 2025. Enormous amounts of that money has gone back to Somalia in the form of duffel bags filled with cash to fund Islamic terrorism. Is that what the people of Minnesota pay their taxes for? Exactly. Do we have that DOJ filing and the related fraud from Feed the Children? One of the largest COVID-19 frauds, and there were plenty of them from all different groups of people all over the country. But But in Somalia, it's mini Somalia, which is what it is, and it just belabors the point one final time. They didn't come here to assimilate to America. They came here to recreate Somalia. That's what's on full display in these videos. What's on full display is that they have zero interest in speaking our language, our customs, our traditions. They have full interest and total interest in staying in Minneapolis, which is, nothing like Somalia in its weather, climate, conditions, culture, habitat, to get something that, arid and dry. It'd be more like moving to the desert. That would be like if you wanted to really recreate Somalia, you move to the desert. No, they go to Minneapolis because that's where their culture is. And they have created almost a entire parallel society there that is Somali and not American. And this, of course, should concern all of us greatly. I'm paraphrasing Elon Musk here, but the nations are its people. And he used this wonderful metaphor in a speech, and I'm going to steal it right now. If you took all of Italy, you took all the Italians in Italy, and you took them out of Italy, okay? So there wasn't a single Italian left in Italy. And some people are like, oh, that's it. Oh, that sounds like paradise. ALX is here shaking his head. Yeah, ALX is very Italian, loves going to Italy. Let's say you take every Italian out of Italy and you put them in Florida. This has happened in some parts of Florida. I mean, go check Boca Raton. But you take every Italian and you drop them right into Florida, which is kind of shaped like Italy, frankly. Well, Italy isn't the rocks or the old buildings or the trees. It's the people. So every Italian moves to Florida. Florida becomes Italy. It's not kind of Italy. It's not little Italy like in New York. It's literal Italy. The songs, the food, the voices, the language, the traditions, the church, the legacies, the family, the knowledge, the sense of self, that all travels with the people. And then Italy just becomes a rock with some old ruins. And if you brought a bunch of Somalis there, it would become Somalia. It would no longer be Italy. You'd have to travel to Florida to get Italy. Right? Get it? I mean, it does make sense, actually, if you put it in those terms. And so when you bring a considerable portion of Somalia and drop them into this tight little unit in Minneapolis, what you've done is you've created Somalia there. Because the people are the actual nation, not the land. And so we must be extremely careful what people we are bringing here. We must look at their land, we must look at their nation and ask, do we want that nation here? Here's a good example. Somalia is, of course, the single most corrupt nation on earth. And now that we've brought those people here, we are getting frauds like this. Feeding our futures defendant, sentenced to 10 years in prison. The White House rapid response tweet, ALX, there was a White House rapid response tweet that identified that 47 out of the 50 people charged in the single greatest COVID-19 PPP fraud were all of Somali descent, East African descent. So White House rapid response is like an actual account. So go to the account and then you can go through. Why don't we read some of the names? Let me just scroll through it. Wrong one. 47. Yeah, there you go. So you can go through, you need to find the actual tweet and then go through. And I'd just like to maybe pop up some names there. This is not a shock. Shouldn't be a shock. I mean, it should be a shock to anybody with conscience. But it's not a shock to me because this is what happens in Somalia, and we just brought Somalia here. It was a fraud where they said they were feeding children. They were feeding hundreds, if not thousands of children per day. And instead of feeding those children, they were just taking all of our money. They were just taking the money that the taxpayers were trying to were giving at the threat of the end of I mean, like, it's not like we had a choice. We were giving to businesses during COVID. You can just scroll through here. It's a very long list. It's going to take us a while to get through, but you'll find that, again, 47 out of the 50 people charged here are all of East African descent, where we have obviously failed nation states that subsist and culturally, quite frankly, entirely on fraud. It's a culture there. And I'm not even trying to judge it because I ain't trying to be a Somali. I'm not planning on moving there. You can go do whatever the hell you want in your country. But why do our leaders feel the compunction to bring that culture here? And what are we going to do about it? President Trump, in the wake of multiple murders and terrorist attacks and threats over the weekend, there were multiples, by the way, from Afghani nationals in this country, has decided to finally snap on the Somalis here in this country, on Minnesota writ large, and its stewardship under what he calls seriously retarded Tim Walz. I think that this is one of the single greatest posts in the history of the presidency, if not the greatest. And what it's setting us up for is a 1924 Immigration Act again. Will Democrats be on board with it? No, of course not. And that's the sad reality to the end of this story, is that Democrats will not be voting for it in a massively bipartisan way because they benefit from this. The point I'm getting at is that unfortunately one party has seen that if you import Somalis in mass, if you give them welfare, and if you're the person promising them more welfare, then they'll vote for you. And that works out great for Tim Walz. So Tim Walz is incentivized to keep that happening in spite of what it does to our nation, to our culture, to our people, and to the state of Minnesota, which is, again, a very nice place. Donald Trump has had enough of it. And in this tour de force post, he says that this is completely stupid for us, and that we have been stupid in our immigration. The official United States foreign population stands at 53 million people. This is why I am calling for a 1924 Immigration Act. We need a time of zero immigration, net zero immigration, negative immigration, and then remigration, which is critical, which he gets to at the very end of this. You can see only reverse migration can fully cure the situation. Other than that, have a happy Thanksgiving. We need a time period where we lock down welfare benefits to people who are here illegally. And we need a time when people need to start asking the question, like, is it, am I happier here, or would I be happier back in Somalia, for instance? We need to end the goodie train that keeps them here so that they can commit the frauds that send them home with duffel bags of cash to fund Muslim terrorism and child sacrifice. That's not what our tax dollars should be going for. Here is a lot of people have read a lot of like different quotes from this, and obviously there are some juicy ones when it comes to Ilhan Omar and her swaddling hijab, as President Trump says, or the seriously retarded governor of Minnesota. Trump defended all of it, and we'll play those clips for you in a second. But what I want to get to here is the real root of all of this, which is the toxic empathy of Christians. And that's what's really being preyed on here. What really gets preyed on in our nation with our immigration policies, especially since the end of World War II, is taking advantage of the Christian sensibility, the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, the Good Samaritan, that has been wholly and completely abused by our leaders. And it's something that President Trump hits at here that I loved about this post. Even as we've progressed technologically, immigration policy has eroded these gains, living conditions for many. I will permanently pause all migration from third world countries to the United States for the system to fully recover, which is exactly what we need in 1924, exactly what we need now. He's going to denaturalize migrants who undermine domestic tranquility and deport foreign nationals who are public charge and security risks non-compatible with Western civilization. Yes, this is exactly correct. Non-compatible with Western civilization needs to be the aim. for all of these deportations. In the United States, this is quite a long post, so I'm trying to remember exactly where it was. But okay, here it is, right here. Thank you. They and their children are supported through the massive payments from patriotic American citizens. It was at the top. I thought it was actually near the bottom, but anyway, it's quite a long post. They and their children, here it is, here's where Trump really cooks, are supported through the massive payments of patriotic American citizens who, because of their beautiful hearts, do not want to openly complain or cause trouble in any way, shape, or form. They put up with what has happened to our country, but it's eating them alive to do so. A migrant earning $30,000 with a green card will get roughly $50,000 yearly benefits for their family. The real migrant population is much higher. The refugee burden is leading to the cause of social dysfunction in America, something that did not exist after World War II. Failed schools, high crime, urban decay, overcrowded hospitals, housing shortages, and large deficits. As we have said time and time again, every problem in our country can be alleviated and ameliorated through mass deportation. Every single problem. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we stand, and President Trump is not backing down. President Trump has gone off on his enemies on this front. Ilhan Omar has finally said it. President Trump saying in a gaggle on Air Force One last night, if it's true that she married her brother, and this is the way that Trump always says these things, it is true. I know that from DHS sources. DHS has the documents. I know this because a whistleblower came to me to say that they have actually delivered the documents that prove it to the White House. So that's remarkable. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. That the DHS documentation of Ilhan Omar's, not only that, but egregious, systematic immigration fraud in order to bring her family over in chain migration is well documented within DHS. I mean, you can see the marriage certificates right here. They're publicly available. It's not like I'm sneaking in for I'm so smart. I've snuck all this information out, out of the Alamo. Here it is. Strangely, marrying her brother in a Christian marriage in a Christian church, isn't that something? So that they don't offend their actual, because it just doesn't, our traditions and our churches are irrelevant to them. The covenant of marriage is, of course, irrelevant to Ilhan Omar. This is just plainly and prima facie immigration fraud. Donald Trump has had enough of it. Here we go.
Like those people,
the people from different countries that are not friendly to us, and countries that are out of control themselves. Countries like Somalia that have virtually no government, no military, no police. All they do is go around killing each other. Then they come into our country and tell us how to run our country. We don't want them.
What are you talking about?
You got to talk up.
She said how many countries?
is there a list?
Well, I guess we gave you 19, right? And it's probably more than that.
Is that what you mean when you mean third world countries, those 19?
No, I don't think they're all third world, but in many cases they are third world. They're not good countries. They're very crime-ridden countries. They're countries that don't do a good job. They're countries that don't register from the standpoint of success. And we, frankly, don't need their people coming into our country telling us what to do.
When you talk about
I'm talking about like Somalia, where you have a congressman goes around telling everybody about our Constitution, and yet she supposedly came into our country by marrying her brother. Well, if that's true, she shouldn't be a congressman, and we should throw her the hell out of our country.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, forgive me for the long-winded rant on this. It is something that I believe near and dear in my heart. It is the purpose and the driving force and the centralized organizing force of the MAGA movement and the America First movement. What are we doing to put America first? Well, unlimited and infinity third world migration is the number one way to make sure that America becomes a third world country. So this is of great import. And of quite frankly, has been the driving, organizing principle of the Trump first 9 months. Sources inside of DHS say that we're going to be seeing mass immigrations ramp up, mass deportation of criminal migrants ramp up. Tom Homan sounding off here, and then we'll jump to our first guest.
Understand, in these third world nations, they don't have systems like we do. So a lot of these Afghanistans, when they did get here and get vetted, they had no identification at all. Not a single travel document, not one piece of identification. And we're going to count on the people that run Afghanistan, the Taliban, to provide us any information who the bad guys were or who the good guys are? Certainly not. And many people need to understand that most terrorists in this world, most of them, aren't in any database. Because unless they were found on a battlefield by DOD when the retina scan and did some biometrics there, unless you're part of a T3 undercover investigation, we don't know who they are. So, and the same thing with illegal aliens, over 10 million that came across the border in Joe Biden. There's no way to vet these people. You think El Salvador or Turkey or Sudan or any of these countries have the databases or system checks that we have? Do you think the government of China, Russia, Turkey, you think they're going to share that data with us even if they did have it? There's no way to clearly vet these people, 100% that they're safe to come to this country from these third world nations. President Trump's doing the right thing, reviewing every one of these people that came under the Biden administration and drilling down on them. I really, truly think that most of them are going to end up being deported because we're not going to be able to properly vet them.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have for you some wonderful guests lined up to talk about this. Two individuals, patriots from California, Steve Hilton and Daryl Issa. We've prayed for guests like this, and prayer is so critical during the Christmas season. This is why I use the Hallow app. Hallow is the app that allows you to have a sense of peace during this stress of the Christmas season. That, I mean, I know it is here. It has been a whirlwind fall. I mean, this is just ripped. I'm trying to catch up, and I'm sure you are too. Running around, busyness, the kind of things that separate us from God in this season. Hallow is a way to ensure that in this precious Advent season you are staying still and peaceful. It helps encourage prayer, and you can pray along with some of the smartest Christian and wisest biblical leaders on earth. They're all available for guidance on the app. You can also do the Pray 25 challenge and meditate through Psalms in this season. Make sure that you are eliminating the ruthlessness of hurrying so that you can peacefully experience what I did this weekend, for instance. Just put the phone down, log everything off, and just be with your kids, That's what I did. That's what I practiced. You should log in. 3 months free of Hallow right now at hallow.com/Benny and join the thousands of others preparing their hearts for the coming of Christ. Hallow.com/Benny right now, ladies and gentlemen, and prepare for this glorious and precious, sacred Christmas season. All right, let's prepare for Daryl Issa, Congressman from California, joining the show. Congressman, thank you so much for being on the program. The killer of this National Guard member who was, you see the National Guard daily in Washington, D.C. This killer traveled from Washington, was brought here, allies welcome. It doesn't seem much like an ally. And then another ally decided to go on a live stream on TikTok and talk about how he was going to mass bomb Dallas and Fort Worth. We have that. We got that video exclusively and published it. These are not allies. What the hell's going on in this country?
Osama bin Laden could have been called an ally during the Afghan war when he was fighting the Russians. Yes. That didn't make him somebody you wanted to bring to America. The vetting process is it's a great oxymoron. There's no vetting. When I was in Qatar during the early part of the withdrawal, after we had already flown thousands to Fort Dix, the commanding general there told me for the first time what a paper passport is. And Benny, you know what a paper passport is? It's a Post-it note that people wrote in whatever language they, Pashtun, whatever, they wrote down what their name was because they either didn't have ID or had thrown it away, and they would tell you who they were. And that's who they came into the United States as. That was our vetting for tens of thousands of people, according to a general who was told that was the way to do it. And that went on. So when they say there was vetting of anybody, vetting somebody to shoot their common enemy is not vetting to come to America.
You know, some of these individuals, particularly the one who shot and killed a National Guard member in just feet from the White House, were trained by our CIA for death squads. That's been confirmed in multiple reports. Why would we want that person here? Exactly. I mean, it seems like, yeah, great. I mean, sure, you killed bad guys in your home country, at least bad guys, who knows? But like, this seems like someone who's going to be incongruent with Western civilization. And we know this. He like kept to himself in his government funded housing. He has 5 kids. He has a wife. They didn't speak English. Nobody ever talked to them. He just played FIFA soccer all day, according to reports, and was a brooding, angry, frustrated individual who we trained to kill. And then he ended up killing us on our own soil. I mean, this seems like a no-brainer of a result, very dark one.
No question at all. And after, look, 1991, we learned lessons in the first Gulf War in 1991. We learned lessons again in 2000 with 9/11. But each time we learned these lessons, for some reason, some members of either party, but particularly the other party, seem to want to forget them. The story of Osama bin Laden is the story of somebody who was a mastermind trained killer, but that didn't make him your ally.
Yeah.
In World War II, the Russians fought on the same side as we did. No question at all. They were always our enemy. It was just a question of when they would turn on us once Hitler fell. That is the reality of history, and yet we choose to forget it. Today we have over 10 million people in this country, many of whom came in under the same quality of passport. They just told you who they were. They had no ID. And we called it vetting as we released them to wherever they said they wanted to go and gave them a free ticket to do it. So it's not just the Afghanistan where we have a known killer, somebody who enjoyed killing his fellow Afghans.
Yes.
And by the way, I'm not going to disagree with you, but I don't know that he was trained by the CIA as much as used by the CIA because he was already a consummate killer. They may have provided him with an AK-47, but that doesn't mean that we train them. The fact is, when we train officers and non-commissioned officers in foreign militaries, we train them with the rules of war. We train them with laws, and then we see whether or not they lead in a way that is acceptable. No such thing happened here. This is somebody who should not have been let into the country, should have been properly vetted. But Benny, what concerns me today is there are tens or hundreds of thousands of people who could be just as dangerous. Some of them are even more dangerous. They are with us. And unless the president continues his pause on migration, as it's sometimes called, and gets the backlog of this taken care of, we will continue to be at a risk that cannot be mitigated.
You're exactly right. How do you vet something? I mean, the vetting process is clearly farcical at this point, Congressman. How can you say that any of these people were actually vetted? They weren't. They clearly weren't. And this has been a horrible and embarrassing and very dark mistake that's leaving Americans dead. You take these trained killers from Afghanistan and then you bring them to our country. How do you think this is going to end? What's to be done about this? Because clearly nobody believes that any of them were vetted at all. I think the major vetting should be, is the culture and country that you're coming from compatible with Western civilization? And the answer to anyone from Afghanistan is no. The answer is no, right, from Afghanistan. You can see the way that the country and the culture itself is propagated. how it is set up and the architecture of that country, and you can say, no, actually, I don't think that that's going to work well here in Indianapolis, Indiana, right? And that goes for Mogadishu as well, and so on. So, like, why did we have to take any Afghanis, like, at all?
Well, there's no question at all that we normally take people because they want to sign on to our values. They want to become Americans. In this case, we took a disproportionate amount of people from all over the world, but particularly Afghanistan, who were simply fleeing the moment in Afghanistan, clinging to that aircraft to get out of possible immediate being murdered. What we can do today, and what President Trump is so wisely doing, is he's prioritizing getting rid of the worst of the worst as fast as we can. He's looking for people who are here as criminals, whose actions here make them ineligible. But I'll tell you, in the 3 years remaining in this administration, no matter how fast he works, there will still be a threat. The only thing he can do is dramatically reduce it by going through these 10, 12, 15, 20 million people that are here and figuring out the ones who drive drunk every day, the ones who traffic in drugs, the ones who are committing crimes of all sorts, but particularly violent crimes. And you know what? He'll be busy for the next 3 years. Pam Bondi will be busy for the next 3 years just getting rid of what might be 1 million of those. And for those of us who have been in Congress, we have to be a sustaining body that supports laws that will allow that to continue beyond President Trump's term. President Trump is showing us the way, but he cannot take us back to the promised land of when people came through Ellis Island and begged to come into the U.S., waited, did everything. Those days are temporarily behind us, but we've got to recapture them. And I will say, I've met Afghan women who are so thrilled that we freed up their country so they could get an education. We changed portions of the society, particularly for women. The fact is, there are some changes around the world that America has done, but we have to remember, changing the rest of the world we do for them. Bringing them here has to be based on doing it for us. We can't simply say, you're in Haiti, another completely failed country. We'll let you come here so you can become the same thing you were there. Betty, I'm going to give you one that I always love to talk about. One day I was at the border. I was leading a group of people to show them the border at the south of my district. And over came a family, and they were dressed better than, bless your heart, you're dressed. And, you know, a Gucci bag, the whole bit. And, you know, the guide that was with us from, you know, the Border Patrol tried Spanish. It didn't work. Tried a couple other, you know, words he knew. It didn't work. Finally, the leader of this group said, Roma, gypsy. Literally, they were proud gypsies coming from Romania as part of a theft culture to America. And you know what? They got an Uber ride and an airplane trip, and they are still here in America, unless by some miracle they've actually been deported. That's the kind of thing that went on during the Biden administration in my district that we are fighting every day. And thank you for making the point that this isn't just one, but a societal problem that we have to correct.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly something internal. It's clearly something spiritual. We don't have any self-preservation instincts any longer. And I know that this has been a series of psyops and propaganda from trillion-dollar propaganda machines to tell all white people that they're evil, or tell Americans that we should be ashamed of our culture, and so on. But there has to be some pushback to it, because otherwise we're going extinct. Otherwise, the nation that we know from a Norman Rockwell painting, or that your grandparents have like fleeting, flickering memories of, that's gone. Maybe the memories that you have of a child, of the streets that you grew up in. I mean, that's gone forever. For me, it'd be like the 1980s E.T. scenes, the kids riding their bicycles safely down a well-lit street, like, and a tidy street, and a clean street, and a street where everyone knew each other. Like, that's decaying at great speed in this nation, and we must do something to reverse that trend. I'd be for a 1924 style immigration bill that says we're full, and we have so many now competing tribal blood feuds that we've idiotically brought into our country that we just need to say stop, right? And give a cooling off period and a dilution period to let the homogeny of American culture sort of dominate the small breakaway factions for a generation. What do you think about that, Congressman?
Well, I think Steve Hilton's going to object to that. We probably ought to make a few exceptions for the best and the brightest. But I will say that you're absolutely right that the president's halt so we can catch up is important. Yeah, I know. If you've got that charming British accent, you've got to let him in. But I'm going to tell you about something else that actually is you mentioned Tim Walz in your monologue. That governor today, faced with the largest scam by these Somalians, billions of dollars.
Yes.
You know what he's doing today? He is pausing paying the legitimate companies that take care of disabled children. He literally is saying, and he's announced it, we're not going to pay you until we get AI to do investigations. Now, these are organizations that have inspectors come into them to check to make sure the kids are being tutored and taken care of. Those inspectors apparently never went into the Somalian schools because they handed them hundreds of millions or billions of dollars. And yet today, the byproduct of this, that man that thank God is not working out of the White House,
yes,
is in fact to halt it. Can you imagine how quickly you go out of business if they cut off your ability to pay your teachers? That's what's going on. Well, in fact, he's not admitting that what he really had was a system under his, quote, leadership that let those billions be stolen while he was governor by a group that he would claim, were just good immigrants. Minnesota has suffered greatly because of the Somalian in-flight, the culture change, and as you said, the theft that is rampant.
Yes. Okay. So there is a theft that's going on right now that the American people are feeling. And since you're a member of Congress and since you've served through many Congresses and seen, I think, great dysfunction up close, can you talk with me about the Republicans in the House? You have Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's sort of like spiraling in her own special way. That's very sad for us to see. She's was a regular on the program. I'm not sure we'll be having her back anytime soon. But what is to become of the Republican majority in the House? And can you answer this question without like sort of the platitudes of like, well, but the big beautiful bill, like, could we like hit the brass tacks? I mean, I think people were expecting, Congressman, a lot more of a robust and muscular defense of the president's agenda and forthrightness with the American people. But the floor is yours. I don't serve.
But look, it may sound like a platitude, but Speaker Johnson is doing a phenomenal job as best he can. But he's got to, one by one, do something that is very hard. And we learned it in the military early on. Team is a word that contains no I. It's not spelled with an I. It isn't about I. Congress is two teams, one going one direction, one often going the other direction. And to make it work, you have to organize as a team. Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, they may have been great orators. They may have been very bright at times. But the fact is, they didn't want to be part of a team. If you don't want to be part of a team, you don't belong here. Now, it doesn't mean that behind closed doors, you don't lobby for what you want, that you don't demand to be heard. But when it's all over, just like a football team going out on the field, you can't play for the other side, or you can't play one on the rest of everyone else. You've got to be that important part of the team or you lose. That's a lesson that I was taught early on in the military, renewed in Congress, that most members of Congress understand. The Speaker today is trying to rebuild that. It took a while to get this bad. And the fact is, Marjorie will be missed, but not when it comes to trying to rebuild a team. We need to have people who are willing to be with the team, and behind closed doors, if you've got problems, vet them.
I agree with that. My wife and I practice that. I mean, we have plenty of problems, but that won't be.
Don't let the kids know about them.
Well, I think it's good to see that the children are part of my family, so it's good for them to see conflict resolution, and there's no one throwing lamps or anything. But like, you ain't gonna see us like going full world star at Walmart, like we're not gonna be in sweatpants at Walmart, like having a crash out in the big screen TV aisle. Have some decency, right? And manage it, because we're a family, right? So like, things get embarrassing out in public, and when everything spills out. And so I understand, like I understand it. I wish Republicans adhered more to that. So what's to be done moving forward? Will we see any? I mean, now this puts a further thin deficit for Republicans. Final question for you: Will we be seeing anything out of the Republican Congress, or is it like this midterm election just hangs too weightily over the shoulders of Republicans? What will happen?
I think the clear and present danger of losing the majority, seeing the president impeached again, dealing with the kind of craziness that we saw in the first Trump administration, we lost the majority, I think is beginning to wake up those who will remain. To be honest, Marjorie's doing one last thing that I just want to make sure everyone understands. She's waiting for that 1 extra or 2 extra days or 10 extra days so she can get vested in her retirement. She's also destroying the ability to have a special election, further causing us not to have a replacement in a reasonable time. If she wants to leave, I have no problem. Anyone has a right to leave. But to further hurt the team just to get her pension, but not be willing to stay long enough to make sure that we finish out this term, is really a darn shame. And it's a mar on her record that she shouldn't be doing. She should either leave early and allow a special election, or remain as part of the team, at least to make those important votes.
I totally agree with you. It's indefensible. And there's hundreds of thousands of Georgians who showed up and voted for her to serve out a term. And sure, there's going to be things they disagree with, but you have an oath. You took an oath to serve those people. It's just another couple months. But it does severe damage. I think it's indefensible, Congressman, and that's why
there's still time for her to change her mind if that's what she wants to do in either of those choices. But I will say that for Speaker Johnson, who's done a superb job, for the president, who has been a great leader of Congress in his own way, probably more than any president, he's had to be involved in the day-to-day of Congress. We are dealing with the slimmest majority, and it keeps getting slimmer. And to be honest, we lose any more weight, we're going to be called anorexic.
That is something you don't want to be around Christmas time. And we are thankful that you take some time out of your Christmas season to join our program. Always, Congressman. Right here, you can follow Darrell Issa, the great congressman from California. He has 250,000 subscribers here and is on the uptick. He's just one of those great fighters for the state of California. And we're thankful for you this holiday season. Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you, Benny.
Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Look at the Christmas studio. Look at this. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. I'm not sure what frankincense and myrrh are going for. I'm not sure if you put frankincense and myrrh in front of me that I would really know what it was exactly. But hot damn. Gold has retained its value even since the time of Christ. Gold has always retained its value. It's a precious metal for a reason. Supply and demand, scarcity is the driver of all economics. And ladies and gentlemen, Advantage Gold can make sure that you are able to flip your 401k or IRA or any retirement account of your choice to be backed by gold. This is one of America's #1 rated precious metals companies. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 right now. Leave a voicemail with your email address, and Advantage Gold will send you a gold investment kit. It's a $50 value for free. That's 800-900-8000, and don't wait. The price of gold keeps climbing up. And with quantitative easing probably around the corner, no doubt, and with the new Fed chair and so on, rates dropping, gold is set to explode even higher. It's done really well this year. Ladies and gentlemen, go gold in the golden era. Advantage Gold today. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what kind of advantage does Steve Hilton have? Well, he does have a British accent. He has Darrell Issa, who's a congressman from California, the state that Steve is running for governor of, advocating that we let Steve and his kind in. We look forward to talking to him about it right now. A very Merry Christmas and a welcome back to the program, Steve.
Merry Christmas, Benny. You cheered me up just with the background. Before you even started talking, I was cheered up with your beautiful studio decorations. And then that conversation was fantastic with my good friend Darrell Issa. Basically teed me up to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is how much I love America. Including, by the way, I want to say happy Thanksgiving a few days after the celebration, but it's my favorite holiday because it's so American. It's just perfect. We had a wonderful time. I didn't even shave for a few days. So that's...
I was gonna say, you're growing a Santa Claus beard, and that is just wonderful. And we approve of that entirely on our program. We would approve of you being the governor of California. We've endorsed you, and we love the prospect of just shaking things up a bit. It seems like Democrats are in a very bad way, yet Proposition 50 did pass in California. Can you give us a quick state of the play for your state before we move sort of to national news?
So it's a disaster. Everything in California is worse than everywhere else. We're literally the worst run state in America. If you just look at the numbers, we have the highest unemployment rate, the highest poverty rate, the highest taxes, the highest gas prices, the highest cost for everything that matters. Rent, housing, water, insurance, everything. There's literally nothing where we are not the worst performing state in America. I used to go through the list in my speeches, and I would make a little joke and say, there is one area where Gavin Newsom's California is not the worst performing in America, and that is the state of our roads. On the state of our roads, we are just 47th out of 50 states. What a triumph. I looked up the data on that the other day. Sure enough, we're back to 50th out of 50, even on that. So it's a disaster. There's a majority of Californians now, very clear majority, who want change. 65% over that number on some of the polls say that the state's going in the wrong direction. Now, you may say, who are this kind of 30-odd% who think we're going in the right direction? But still, I'll take a majority of 65% for change. And so I think next year really is going to surprise everyone. I know people say, well, a Republican can't win in California. I think I can. I think I will. Right now, the opinion polls, it's early in the race, but consistently show me leading, not just the other Republican, but also all the Democrats. Now, there's a long way to go till the primary in June, but I'm feeling very confident that the simple argument we're making, which is it's time for some common sense and sanity. You can't go on with this one-party rule that's given us these disastrous outcomes, the taxes, the regulations, the insanity, the gender extremism, the climate extremism, all these terrible things that have infected the whole country. They all started here in California. So let's kill it in California, make life better for everyone here, but in the process, we'll do the whole country a favor.
We do have the polling right here. We can pop it up. Nice little infographic. I know I'm worried for you, Steve, not just because I walked through the Tenderloin district in LA and saw how dangerous some of these homeless vagrants were, but actually I'm far more scared of Katie Porter because she's a very violent person. And seeing a poll like this, she could really lash out, dump scalding potatoes on your head and maybe curse you out because her lighting's a hair off.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, Penny, I'm not sure where I am now on this race because since that one was taken, that poll, and there's been a few others.
Oh, do we have? Are we out of tune? Our producers can fix this. Are we out of? Is this not a recent poll?
Oh no, that was the most recent.
Yes,
but it was taken since the announcement last week that Eric Swalwell has entered the race for governor.
Yes, that's right. Yes, of course.
I'm not quite sure which I prefer because there's going to be a top two. There's going to be a jungle primary in June, and then two candidates go forward. And I'm very confident it'll be me and one other Democrat. And at this point, I'm not sure which I would prefer: Katie Porter with the opportunity for endless mashed potato jokes, or Eric Swalwell with the opportunity for endless fang jokes. I don't know.
Yes. Oh, we look forward to that, Steve. Yeah, Eric Swalwell did enter the race. How does that change everything other than?
Well, I'm glad to see the Democrats are sending their best for this.
Yes, that's right. They're not sending their best. My goodness. California, you are in a tough. I'm not sure if I were a Democrat. I can't believe I'm saying this, but like, please Kamala run. At this point, it's practice in humiliation, actually, for Democrats.
The other one, by the way, who's just entered the race, again, completely extraordinary. When you think about the main driver of everything in California being the most expensive in the country, gas, electric, housing, the main driver of all that is the climate insanity, all these climate policies that they've been pushing for years. And one of the main advocates of all that is a billionaire climate fanatic called Tom Steyer, who humiliated himself when he ran for president. He's just got in the race for governor, wanting to give us more of the same that's given us the highest costs in the country. It's just unbelievable.
So, Steve, let's hop on over here and talk about this. Like, exactly what would your management and stewardship of the government of California, which has a GDP, not a great sign, by the way, of the health of a state, but simply a metric. But it's the GDP of a fourth or fifth largest country on earth. An enormous amount of fraud. California refuses to turn over any of the Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP numbers to the United States government. It seems strange. You're out here with Herb Morgan. He's running for state California controller, saying that you would immediately do a statewide audit of social services spending after the Minnesota fraud scandal. We've been covering that for the last hour here on the show. Talk us through this, Steve.
Well, I want to make a general point first, Benny, and then get to the specifics. The general point I want to make, and it just picks up on the conversation you were having with Daryl, is that actually I am in a position to offer a really clear warning to the whole country about what's going on. And of course, just as with everything else, it's worse here in California than anywhere else because the excesses of the left have been allowed to run unconstrained here in California more than anywhere else in the whole country. So when we look at this interaction between uncontrolled immigration and an unlimited welfare state, it's worse here in California. But here's the warning. But look what's happening in England. Look at what is happening in England. So even when I left England, that was in 2012, you could go to parts of the country. Birmingham was a good example, the second city of England. And you could go for block after block, entire neighborhoods. And I've done that. I went there many times, and you would not see a single street sign in English. It would all be in Urdu. You would not see a single person on the street who would be anything other than wrapped in burqas and all those things that we associate with exactly the kind of countries that you're describing. You see scandals like the rape scandal of white girls raped by Muslim men and some Muslim girls as well. A friend of mine was a victim of that in Rotherham in the north of England, completely covered up for years for exactly the same kinds of reasons that you're seeing this Minnesota scandal covered up today. And the most scandalous thing is that Brexit in 2016, which I supported and went back to campaign for, was supposed to end all of that. The main argument in Brexit was take back control of our borders. And yet it didn't happen. In fact, it got worse. And so I just want to share with you a line that I use on pretty much every single one of my campaign speeches. I run through all the things I'm fighting for in California, fighting for common sense and sanity, for working people, for small business. And here's the last point I always make. I am fighting to make sure that this state that I love does not turn into the country I left. And that is a warning to the whole of America, because this can happen very quickly. And so the conversation you had with Daryl is incredibly important. And exactly as you say, it is so important that we understand that the president needs to be supported in making sure that we don't turn into what's happened in Europe and particularly in England. And I want to give you now a specific example that speaks to the point you just made about Minnesota and the comparison with California and the welfare state. Here's a story just from the campaign trail a few weeks ago. I met a guy who owns a hotel, an airport hotel near Sacramento, the seat of California's government. And he had a new employee to drive the shuttle bus to the airport from Afghanistan, an immigrant from Afghanistan. After 2 days, this person said to the owner of the hotel, could he please be paid in cash? And the person I was talking to said, well, no, we don't do it like that. You're on payroll. Why do you want to be paid in cash? Well, I'm worried that I'll lose all my welfare benefits. Really? How much are they? Here's the number. $7,000 a month. $7,000 a month. So even with, Tim Waltz level accounting skills, we can figure out that's $84,000 a year. In that post you mentioned from the president, he talked about 50,000. This is Sacramento County, $84,000 a year. On top of that, he dug into it. This person from Afghanistan was told by social services in Sacramento County, and don't worry, we're going to deliver groceries to your house because you shouldn't go shopping because Americans are racist and it's safer for you to stay at home and we'll deliver your groceries. I mean, what are we doing in this country? What are we doing? And the point that I'm making today is that just as with everything else, whatever we're seeing in Minnesota, you can be sure it's much worse in California, where you've had longer period of uninterrupted one-party rule, and we have a budget of over $325 billion. We already know that over $20 billion was lost to fraud in the pandemic with what they call the EDD, the Employment Development Department, payments sent out to people in jail, people on death row, people who had died. $20 billion, we know that that's already gone. That's just one part of the welfare state in California. We know that over $20 billion was wasted on homelessness. Who knows where that ended up? I think the probable number in California is up to $100 billion. That's an estimate. And what I'm calling for today is a thorough audit of every single part of California's bloated welfare state to root out the fraud and corruption.
You need to add, I guess, given the fact that you immigrated here from England, you are a naturalized American citizen?
I am. And actually, I can one step further than that, Benny. And actually, when I see what's going on in England, I'm more happy and proud about this every day. I'm not only a proud American, I've actually officially renounced my UK citizenship.
What happened there? Why did the greatest, highest culture that the world's ever known, how did it commit suicide in a matter of a generation after winning a war, right, in World War II? How exactly did that happen? And of course, we've seen all of the videos, and we can see the statistics. 20% of the country is now Muslim. You just talked about no-go zones, the rapes, how does the single proudest and strongest culture, a culture that controlled the majority of the world, right? Like at least a considerable portion of the earth, through wooden ships, by the way, and just like the strength of administratorship and the profundity of the actual cultural ethos and spirit, the English, how did that collapse so quickly? And why?
It's the infection of this leftist ideology. In particular, and again, it's something that the president touched on in that post that you read at the top of the hour, the exploitation of the kindness and the good heart of the British people, just as we're seeing with the American people, and refusing to speak out and tell the truth. And so for year after year after year, it was open-ended, uncontrolled immigration, plus the refusal to enforce any kind of assimilation and any kind of clarity about the fact that if you come to this country and you have the privilege of becoming a citizen of this country, then you have to sign up to the founding values and principles of this country. You have to speak our language. There is not an option not to do that. It's not an option to have your own language or your own culture. What on earth are we talking about? Sharia law operates inside of a country, which you see happening in England. It's just completely unacceptable. And it was an ideology that in England was known as multiculturalism. And that term used a lot in England, less so here, I think. But it's completely destructive. of a nation's social fabric. And we've got to be really clear about that. And again, take the lesson from what's happened in Europe. And it's not just England. You see it in France as well, particularly. It kills the heart of a country not to insist on full assimilation, learn the language, adopt our values, our principles, believe in our constitution and what we stand for, actually more so than people who were born here, because you've got the enormous privilege of being welcomed here as a guest. And I think that's something that we have to say so incredibly strongly.
Yes. I mean, it's it's wild, the denigration and the humiliation campaign and how successful it's been, because it's inconceivable to say that this should happen inside of Mecca or inside of a Muslim country, that there should be marches of Christians, right? Like banging drums and clanging bells. It just flatly wouldn't be allowed, right? This wouldn't be allowed by that culture. You couldn't do this in a Muslim country, but Muslims do it all across Europe. And the early data here, Steve, has just been, the results have just been horrifying for Europe when it comes to the crime rates from Muslim countries being brought into European society. And I guess the final question on this is, President Trump is talking about remigration from a government, from a societal structure. How does that work exactly?
Well, I mean, look, we've got to, they're going about this in a very systematic manner. And I think asserting these principles that we've let go for so long. And I think it's incredibly important that we apply it throughout the system and at the state level as well, in terms of how welfare operates and the incentives and so on. I think it's really, really important. And again, I just want to emphasize something that is so, for those of us on the conservative side of these arguments, to remind everyone that of the utter collapse of any moral clarity on the left when it comes to this point. Because look at what's going on. Again, I refer back to England with the way that women's rights, the left we used to think of champ our women's rights, feminists and so on, Me Too. Look at the way that the people in England in particular, where women's rights have been just completely thrown out of the window and women are treated as second-class citizens. And the left are completely fine with it because it fits their ideology of multiculturalism or whatever they want to call it, open borders immigration. It is absolutely despicable. So they have no moral basis at all to stand on. We have all the arguments on our side, and we should make them strongly and proudly.
I couldn't agree with you more. If you were to say, like, it is inconceivable, again, to a modern leftist or to anybody in the political realm to say Beijing is too Chinese. And we need to import 1 million Africans and 1 million Indians to make sure that Beijing is not as Chinese as it is, because it makes us scared how Chinese Beijing and Hong Kong are. It's really worrying to us. That's crazy. And if you were to say that white people should move to some small uncontacted island, some tribe, the North Senegalese, right? Like everyone would put up major protests. It'd be seen as the worst act of cultural appropriation in human history. Yet it happens to white cultures, it happens to Christendom, it happens to the Anglosphere all the time. And nobody even puts up a defense for it because they're taking advantage of the Good Samaritan nature, I think, of Christians, without realizing that you've left the fox in the henhouse.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's high time for people to actually start talking about it. And you're a perfect canary in a coal mine. And so we love having you sing on the show. We thank you for being here. And as a warning sign, here's Steve's website, by the way, if you wish to support him for governor. A final parting question, Steve, I have for you, because I could talk about this for hours, but an update on voter ID in California.
Oh, yes, incredibly critical.
Yeah, this is critical. Can you please give us a quick update?
Yeah. I've been on the road for months campaigning for this. It's incredibly important. Voter ID has huge support, of course, across the country.
Yes.
It has huge support in California. Majority of people support it in California, but especially Republicans. And so first of all, there's a ballot initiative that is in circulation, We need to get just over 1 million signatures to be sure of getting it on the ballot. We're doing really well. I know you've been such a vocal champion for this, Benny. We're up to about 600,000 now. I mean, it's going up every day. So we're looking good. We've got a few more months, but we want to get it done even before the deadline. If it gets onto the ballot next November, and I'm very confident it will, not only is that great in its own right, because voter ID helps stop the cheating, it's actually one of the most important things we can do to turn California back towards common sense and sanity and elect me governor, because it will really help with Republican turnout next November, because Republicans support voter ID overwhelmingly, and they will turn out to vote for that as well. So, as you know, in the midterm election, it's all about turnout, and voter ID on the ballot in California next November will be the way that we actually kick out these Democrats and bring some sanity back to the Golden State.
Absolutely critical. Please follow my friend and my endorsement for California Governor Steve Hilton. I've had the pleasure of actually going with him on the road to campaign events, and I look forward to doing more.
Absolutely.
Steve,
It'll be fun.
I would love to spin back out there and maybe do a voter ID rally.
That would be fantastic.
Nearly 400,000 people already follow Steve. You should be one of them. Merry Christmas, Steve. God bless you.
And to you. Thank you, Benny.
You don't want to be in debt. Nobody wants to be in debt. It's not a good thing to be, especially these days. If you have high interest credit card debt, it is financial slavery. We talked a little bit about slavery on the show. You don't want any of that in your life. American Financing can guarantee that they can get you out of high interest credit card debt using the equity in your home, reconsolidate that into far more acceptable rates that are not usury rates. That should be illegal, obviously, rates of 20 and 30%. Rates in the low fives. This can be a game changer around the holidays. Please consider this, ladies and gentlemen. American Financing at 888-528-1219. I want our audience to be physically healthy, financially healthy, morally healthy. High interest credit card debt is modern day indentured servitude. 888-528-1219 for American Financing. AmericanFinancing.net/Benny. All right. Let's do an update here about the successful assassination of one National Guardsman and the attempted assassination of another National Guardsman who's left him fighting for his life. His name is Andrew Wolf. When we left the studio last week on Wednesday, we were just reporting on this, and there's little that we knew, but we stayed up to date, recording from our home during the Thanksgiving holiday about what had happened and how evil, grotesque all of this is. President Trump revealed that one of the National Guardsmen who was shot in Washington, D.C. is fighting for his life. When asked on Sunday on Air Force One if he had spoken to the family of Andrew Wolf, 24, National Guardsman who was shot, Trump said that he had spoken with both families. Trump added that Wolf's parents are unbelievably great people. Everyone must pray for their son. Have you spoken to Andrew Wolf's family? Give us an update. He is fighting for his life. He's in critical condition after multiple surgeries. Here's President Trump.
Spoken with Andrew Wolf's family. Can you give us an update on
I have spoken to both families. Well, I mean, I can give you an update. They're devastated. Does that make sense to you?
Of course.
They're devastated.
Can you give us an update on Andrew Wolf's condition?
Well, as you know, the one is no longer with us, and Andrew is fighting for his life. And his parents are unbelievably great people, highly religious people, and they're praying, and they want everybody to pray for Andrew, and he has a chance to make it, but he is, his mother and father, they were so unbelievable. They were so positive. From West Virginia, great state. I spoke with Sarah's parents, too, and the only thing I can say, they were devastated.
Do you plan
They can't even believe it. It could happen.
You can believe it if you actually listen. A little birdie sent us a video of an Afghan ally, another practice in humiliation for our nation. They're brought here as allies. This Afghan ally is live on TikTok talking about how he's going to bomb and kill as many Americans as possible in Dallas. Now, this is a strange looking video because it's a screen record from a TikTok live. I guess we could have done better just trying to frame him up, but either way, we got what we were given. This is a screen recording from a source that sent us the original video that shows this Afghan national brought here as an ally. Let's just call him Muhammad because, well, that's his name. This is Muhammad in this video talking about, obviously, creating the largest mass casualty event that he possibly can in America. And that's why he is in America. And then being asked after our service members rescued his ass, after we spent countless millions to bring this ungrateful, sadistic, evil bastard, rat bastard, over to our nation. This scum from his third world, ancient goat-herding civilization in Afghanistan that, I mean, again, just you can go just check the actual World Economic Forum data on Afghanistan and literacy rates and human rights and running water, electricity. He gets brought into our nation, and not just our nation, but like Dallas, Texas, which is a booming first world, wonderful city. And he's asked about the untold millions that were spent on welfare for him and his family, the American service members who put their lives on the line, dragging him over here, the American culture that absorbed him and then lavished him with free health care and education for his kids and a job, when he wouldn't have any of those things in Afghanistan. His head would be on a pike. And his response tells you everything. It was extremely distressing for me to watch, but also clarifying in my understanding that there are cultures that are incompatible with the West. And in order to understand those cultures, you must look at the actual country of origin. Is that country incompatible with the West? Would you like that country to be brought here as a state? Like, it could, if you could break off Somalia or take Haiti and move it 100 miles or 300 miles, however far away it is, not that far, and you could adjoin it to America, if you could airlift the entire nation and drop it there on the seaboard of New Jersey or into the middle of the Midwest or into one of the Great Plains states, you could just attach it to the foot of Texas, would that be a place you'd want to visit? Would that be a place you'd feel comfortable walking the streets of? Shouldn't that be what we use as a metric? And would you like that if we did that with Afghanistan? Like if we airlifted Afghanistan, as we kind of did, but like took the actual physical country and then just took that landmass and attached it to the Carolinas as like an extension, would that be a nice place to visit? Would that be a place that would that we'd be comfortable with that free flowing into America without any border control? Of course not. And this video proves, by the way, how right and righteous we are in having those concerns. Here we go.
سری هر کس افغان چی مشکل داشته باشه سری او انتیاری میکنم هیچ مشکل نیست
در کجا هستی آدرس در کجاست آدرس یک دقیقه بدارم مایک سبیلیت بسته که برادر آدرس در کجاست گفتی
دالاس پورت ورت
انتحاری رو در کجا جور میکنی بامبا
انتحاری همینجا جور میکنم
باز کافر هم انتحار میکنی و
سری تانم میکنم سری کافر تانم میکنم کسی که افغان مخالف باشه سری او انتحاری میکنم
ایره چه رقم انتحار میکنی
میکنم
استی گفتی درست است
تا تکسال هستم دالاس پورت ورت
بام گفتی در داخل موتر جور میکنی
همین نشان نباشه
صبر یک دقیقه بدار گفتی که انتحاری رو هم در موتر جور میکنی یاد خواهر
بله جور میکنم
در کجا جور میکنی؟
در موتر جور میکنم اینه.
بمبش از کجا میخری؟
برای تو چی؟ یک کس کپ
I'm gonna pause it. So in case the captions are a little fast, obviously he's speaking Pashtun here. What he's saying is, I'm gonna use my taxi that the American public gave me, that was handed to me by the welfare state of America. I'm going to use all of the resources that I get through Medicaid fraud, Medicare fraud, SNAP, EBT benefits. I'm going to use all of those benefits in order to make a bomb in my car. Let me make this very clear, because we were sent like an hour-long live, and we had to, they talked about a lot of stuff. And we'll publish the whole live, so you'll see we're not taking anything out of context, and we're properly translating this. We worked very hard in order to make sure that we were translating this correctly. This is our exclusive video. What he's saying is, I am going to use all the resources America's given me to kill as many Americans as possible. They're so stupid for bringing me into their land. I'm going to use my taxi cab, which was most likely bequeathed to him through some type of stupid state program in Texas. I'm going to use that taxi cab in order to make a huge bomb in a car so I could drive it into a building, Oklahoma City bombing style, right? Maybe I could take down a building, right? Maybe a bunch of kids will be inside of the nursery there, just like it was in Oklahoma City. So that's what he says up to this point. And then now listen to this. If you want to truly radicalize on immigration policy, listen to this man say, yo, brother, you're in Texas. Aren't you ashamed to be living inside of the great Satan?
Juan, the Texas call اینجا خواهنداری خود را نمیکنی یا
میکنم اگه دلیم شما میکنم
آقا در کی داری میکنی
سری تو من تیاری میکنم سری کاپیرا من تیاری میکنم سری هر کس این تیاری.
Don't you feel ashamed? There's nothing that we can do for these people. There's no amount of money. There's no amount of lavish gifts. There's no amount of gold. It's bread in the bone. Okay? It just is what it is. What else can you say? I mean, there are some populations that no matter what you do, and I would argue that is probably a majority of the immigrants that have been brought into this country over the last few years, that use America and do not want to be Americans. They're using us. They're disgracing our land. They're taking advantage. Aren't you ashamed to be in Texas? I am. And I want to kill. And I'm gonna kill. I'm gonna suicide with my car. These Americans are such idiots for bringing me here. And we are. It's called toxic empathy, where we believe that we can somehow defeat the powers of evil with just being nice to people. But that's just not how evil works. It's not how Satan works. And that's not how evil has ever worked. And it's not to say that you shouldn't be nice to people, but God also calls for us to have wisdom. There's entire books of the Bible written about it. And there's entire books of the Bible written about not letting foreigners swamp your nation and overtake you and then be your masters. There are whole books of the Bible written about that. The smartest man to ever live, Solomon, writes about the proper structure of government, the wielding of the sword. So does the bedrock of the ancient church, the Apostle Paul, writing in Romans 13 about a properly organized government from God, a government of laws, structure, order, and terror. What do you mean terror? Well, it says it right there. That the government wields the sword for the benefit of good men, so that evil men, like the men who come here, strip mine our welfare systems so they can kill us with their car bombs. These are evil men. If you can't see that, then I don't know what to tell you. They're evil. According to Romans 13, the government wields the sword for the terror of these people. the government should be terrorizing these people, according to the Bible, the Christian Bible, your Bible. It's okay to separate two things. It's perfectly doctrinal from a Christian perspective to separate two things. One, that we should pray for this person from a personal perspective, right? God didn't make him any more valuable than me. He's not more valuable than me. I'm not better than him. We're both sinners. That's person-to-person Christian doctrinal beliefs that I must also pray for forgiveness for my sins, and that God created all of us in his image. That no one is beyond redemption, and no one is cursed or blasphemed into the core of the earth. But there is a different government, not a higher than or a more important government. There is a different governance, which is the governance of man, that God also institutes, according to Romans, that says that this person, please put the mugshot, that says that this individual, Muhammad, must be dealt with swiftly and kept out of our land so that the wolves mustn't prey on the sheep, and that a properly organized society wields a sword for the terror of men like this. These are perfectly harmonious Christian principles. When properly implemented, you create societies like 1950s America or turn of the century England that are low crime, high trust, that do result in some of the most beautiful cultural heritages, art, writing, some of the highest minded manifestations of human society that has ever existed came from cultures that actually wielded the sword to ensure that good and peaceful men could go about their days without being terrorized by Muhammad. And so don't get it twisted. Don't let them take advantage of you, ladies and gentlemen. Glad this man is behind bars. We're happy to have shared some of the evidence that put him behind bars. We hope he is swiftly and ruthlessly deported after a life sentence here in our country. That was no fun to go through that video. We did so, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of holiday excitement in our household. That means very little sleep for my wife and I. I'm also getting over what I believe was the flu or something to that effect. Just is what it is. So blackout coffee has been my friend. My caffeine has always been my friend. I'm not a nicotine guy, although I'm getting desperate these days. Blackout coffee keeps me caffeinated. And I know that when I'm drinking their blackout coffee right here in the Benny Show mug, that I am supporting those who love this country, who love this nation, Americans who are making that coffee right here in the great state of Florida, who love hard work and damn good coffee, and they support this hardworking American, and they can support you. You should order Blackout Coffee today. If you believe in hard work, American values, and coffee that actually tastes like coffee, go to blackoutcoffee.com/Benny and use the code Benny for 20% off your order. Support the American dream and drink Blackout. blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Stop settling and start drinking real coffee. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's head on over to Polymarket for our poll of the day. It is election season. We're going to do a poll here on Tennessee, the Tennessee election. Let's go. On Fox News, Maria Bartiromo's show this weekend talking about this exact election. It is an obscenity to the state of Tennessee and to Nashville, a city which I love. Don't you love Nashville? I like Nashville a lot. And I was researching this race, and thank God the markets have actually ticked upwards in favor of Matt Van Epps. But Matt Van Epps is running against Afton Ben, I think is the right way to pronounce her name, who is on a little bit of a downward slope here. The election is tomorrow. This is a Trump plus 22 district. Matt Van Epps is obviously the odds on to win, up at 88%, was at 85 when I was checking yesterday. The reason we're, obviously using Polymarket is because this is the percentage of win. Now, the race is close, all right? The polls will scare the hell out of you because the polls are showing a dead heat. Polymarket is showing, obviously, that Matt Van Epps is the likely winner of this, but will it be very close? We're not exactly sure. We did get a chance yesterday to read on air some of the messages from this Democrat. And the messages saying that she effectively loathes the city that she wishes to represent in Congress. She hates everything good about Nashville. The entire program has been about self-loathing, especially among secular white women, right? I mean, let's just be honest here about who is the most self-loathing demographic in the entire world. So, man, they've done a number on secular, unhappy, unmarried, childless white women. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to read her words on air. Let's go.
And this is why I just wanted to, sort of pause for a second, because what you're talking about is an issue entirely other than affordability. It's
not the right clip, guys. You need the open clip, please. I mean, I like what I have to say here too, but not the right clip. Thank you. Here we go.
It's great to have you here. Let's talk about this election specifically, but also in the wake of the elections we just saw. Democrats seizing to this message of affordability, saying that they are, voters are gravitating to them from both sides as a result of the fact that they understand how to fix it.
Yeah, Jackie, Merry Christmas to you, by the way. I wanted to be the first
Christmas
to wish
maxing.
you a very Merry Christmas from the Johnson household here.
Christmas maxing. Always be Christmas maxing.
Although this might not be the present that Republicans want under their tree right now, because I hate to paraphrase James Carville, but it is the economy stupid. It always will be the economy stupid. Luckily, there is a whole year to turn this major ship around. And when you're talking about a $31 trillion ship, which is the American economy, it takes a while to turn it.
Yeah.
And we are seeing the effects of that in some special elections. Democrats are winning in dark blue cities and in dark blue left-wing states. And that shouldn't shock anybody. However, this is a Trump plus 22 district in Tennessee. The Republican is a West Point graduate. He is an Army veteran, war hero, and a Tennessee commissioner. He should be winning easily. The Democrat is somebody who is the AOC of the South. She celebrated the police headquarters getting attacked and burned during the BLM riots. She celebrated the defunding of the police. And she also hates Nashville. I have for you, Jackie, an exact quote for you, if you don't mind if I read it.
Okay.
This is from the Democrat candidate. I hate the city of Nashville. I hate the Bachelorettes. I hate the pedal taverns. I hate country music. I hate all the things that make Nashville. I hate it. This is the Democrat candidate, in her own words, running for a Nashville seat.
Benny.
And so it really does beg the question, like, how far can you go when you're looking for a candidate that is at the very bottom of the barrel? She deserves to lose. By the way, all of those things are wonderful. Those are the reasons why I love Nashville. I know many of your Fox colleagues love Nashville.
They do, and this.
So, there we go. All right. We're thankful for Fox News for having us on. Should I wear a suit, chat? Should I wear a suit? Is it disrespectful to come here every single day? I mean, I've been doing this show in a black t-shirt for 4 straight years. I don't think I've ever done the show in anything other than, sometimes when I'm sick. I mean, we try to never miss a show around here. Sometimes when I'm sick, I'm literally shivering here. I'll be like flu-like syndrome. I'll wear like a jacket, but it'll be a black jacket. Should I do the show in a suit, chat? I don't know. What's the sentiment? We're going to log off here in a moment, so I don't want to belabor it, but what do you think, show? What do you think? What do you think, chat? Never change the black shirt. It's just a basic black shirt. It cost me $5. Black shirt. I mean, you saw Daryl Issa make fun of me, He's like criminal aliens are dressed better than you. You know, we'll give the scum of the third world that you are ranting against are dressed better than you. So stay, Benny. Okay. All right. You know, I wear the suit on Fox because you want to be respectful. I'm going to go to the White House, actually. And you wear a suit at the White House, too. You're right. You go to the briefing room. You want to be respectful. You don't want to be a slob. You don't want to look like a slob. But we've like built something a little different here. And I don't know. I don't want you to feel disrespected. The only thing I care about is you. The only thing I care about is the chat. I don't want you to feel disrespected. But we've sort of built something together here way before I was ever invited on Fox, right? But yeah, it is our show, isn't it? It is our show. But I just, well, I guess I just love hearing. I just love hearing from you. That's all. Pop up some more comments, man. We don't do this enough. Comments are overwhelmingly against the suit. Show me if you don't mind. Suit commands more respect. Oh, Pamela Darrow from Facebook says suit commands more respect. I mean, I don't disagree with you, Pamela. That's why I wear suits to the White House. I wear suits to meetings and stuff. But every morning we sit here and just kind of sort of rip and rant, and it's like sort of a non-formal show. You can catch a meme, you can catch a naughty word, you can catch some funny videos here and there. We have a whole segment called Nuke That Lib, right? Like we have a whole segment of that. So we try to be a little less like buttoned down, but whatever. Benny, I got two drawers full of black t-shirts. You're solid. It says Shockwave Rider 869. Well, thank you, man. Black Shirt Brigade. Thank you. Maybe we just make our own custom black shirts, you know? Maybe we should make our own custom black shirts right here that has like little words up front. Charlie had those. I thought that fit looked great. Right? Black Shirt Brigade says a chaotic neutral sunbro from YouTube. I agree with you, dude. And it makes it easy because you can just, well, that's one decision you don't have to make every single day. What am I going to wear? I went to, and I'll just say it. I'll just say it. I'm not trying to be mean here. I went to the Daily Wire way back years ago, and I was on Candace's show. Ooh, that just tells you how far back it was. You know, well, I guess it wasn't really that far back. It was 2023 time frame. And I was there, and they, you know, you're sitting there in the green room, and I'm watching them wheel all of the wardrobes for the Daily Wire hosts by. And it was like all of this, it was like so many shirts and so much stuff. I mean, I just, like, you know, like you could see that's the Matt Walsh rack, you know, 7 racks. That's the Michael Knowles racks, and they're all being wheeled, right? And there's like so many outfits. It's like, geez, man, like I wouldn't even want that anyway. It seems like a lot of work, and it seems like a lot of pointless work. And I don't mind being in a t-shirt here if you guys don't. I do get roasted about it, by the way. Like by regularly, guests do roast us, Klein, about wearing the shirt. There it is. There's the photo. Well done, ALX. Goodness gracious. That's it. Back in the old Candace days. Look at that. Holy moly. There I am. Still wearing black, though. Okay. Fine. Jeez, Ben, lose some weight, you slob. Where's your chin? Where's your jaw? What a blob, dude. Lose some weight. You're fat. Okay, 100% pro black t-shirt. Says New Space. Thank you. Black Freedom shirt. Okay, we'll do the Black Freedom shirt. Absolutely. Diane Kaiser. Mint. From Facebook. Thank you, Deanna. Sorry. Black Freedom shirt. Why not? Let's add one to the store today. You look nice in your suit, but comfy on your own show. Thank you, Tina Knoll. C2U. She's from YouTube. Tina. You look nice in your suit, but comfy on your own show. That's the point. That's the point here, is that we're all family here. Like chilling out. We're chilling out. I will buy a Benny shirt. Okay? Well, this should be pretty easy with our partners to do. I know Ryan's watching, so we'll rock and roll. We're able to make our Christmas ornaments. We're able to make black shirt. I mean, we already have shirts, like lots of them. Done. Black shirt, don't be a suit stiff. LOL, appropriate for interviews, though. Thank you. This is from Joel Doltz. Dol1ZT. Doles. Thank you, Joe. God bless you. Don't fix what ain't broke. That's exactly right. And I would be broke if I had the Daily Wire, You know, like if I had the Daily Wire, like the Daily Wire guys, I mean, I'm telling you, I've never seen so much clothes. It was like a whole Kohl's rack being wheeled. You know, I'm just kind of like sitting there, like looking out the window. You know, they put you in these little holding rooms, right? And I'm like sitting there watching like this like huge rack of clothing. And I think it's like that. Again, I'm not trying to pick on the Daily Wire. I'm thankful that they brought me on. And those were really fun shows with Candace. Those shows were a freaking blast. Back in the day, we had a lot of fun. Too bad. Too bad. I was a massive fan of Candace's show on the Daily Wire. I thought it was great. It was like sort of like a talk show kind of thing that she was doing. We had a blast. Anyway, the point is that I don't think they're getting back together, Mom. Let's do one or two more, please. I want to do more comments. Let's just make this a thing during the Christmas season. And for every show, I want to like read more comments and talk with more people in the audience. This is what this season is going to be about. Every single weekend I'm traveling this season. We're going to go out. We're going to be meeting people. We're going to America Fest. What was the last one? Sorry. It was just it was a super chat. I didn't get a chance to read it. Sorry about that. We love you the way that you are, says my mom. Thank you, Mom. I'm just kidding. I don't think that's my mom. It could be my mom's burner. I'm not sure. Member for 15 months, but I just want to shout out the actual chat at Pat Schenkel 3281. Thank you. Member for 15 months. God bless you, Pat. Thank you. We love you the way you are. Well, we love you back. You're in your space with us. Comfort is the best. Thank you. Crimson 5878. Thank you, Crimson 5878. Listen, we're just this is a show run by you. So we're gonna let her, we're hopefully going to deliver just for you. And so, excuse me, shirtless. No, Jacqueline Mack, not shirtless. We've just done an entire show about decency in our country and how we want to try and be uplifting. And you don't want, that is not what you want. That is not what you want. My wife has to wake up to me with shirtless every morning, and we pray for her. All of us have our burdens. Yes, the freedom shirt. Yes, we will. No, we'll not do a shirt. Although I'll tell you what, like I'm trying to get, like I was complimenting about how I have tried to like stay in shape. There's a lot of like young people that watch. I do want young men to like have health. I do want to, at the very least, not be a slob and say that you can get older with dignity. Right? I'm on the wrong side of 30, and want to stay in shape. I'm not going to be doing a shirtless show, but that would be a good motivator. Whatever you do, Benny, never wear a t-shirt to the White House. That's exactly right. Yes, you're exactly right. Correction. I'm sorry. I'm telling you guys, I'm just getting over this. Never wear a t-shirt at the White House. This is Zelensky, man. We didn't even cover that. Zelensky's getting nuked right now. Zelensky had his number 2 guy, the guy who's in charge of all the fraud in Ukraine, got raided in $100 million scam that we all knew was happening. The number 2 guy in Ukraine, so Tucker Carlson predicted this, by the way. The top aide, like they're coming for Zelensky, dude. His top aide he's probably going to flee the country, quite frankly. Followed quickly by Zelensky, I think. So this is his chief of staff in an anti-corruption raid that Tucker predicted, by the way. Remember, listen to the people. Listen to the people who have been right and who are constantly right. Tucker said that Andrei Yermak is corrupt, and the Wall Street Journal has proof that he has been scheming, that he's been stealing hundreds of millions of dollars. Boy, we're talking a lot about foreign fraud on the show. Just to let you know, we're not racists. We're not just talking about Somali fraud. We're just as angry, if not more angry, actually, about this. We're just as angry, if not more angry. We've sent a lot more money to Ukraine than Somalia. I think, I hope. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, this is Tucker Carlson predicting that Andrei Yermak was going to get raided. That and then lo and behold, 4 days later, he gets his door kicked in, his office raided, and he resigns. This is the number 2 guy in Ukraine. Zelensky's next, bro. I'm telling you, Zelensky's next. Let's see here. Let's grab a couple. I'm sorry, I'm watching the comments. Jump in here. Watching the comments fly in here. Let's do a couple more here. I want to do more comments. I want to do more chat. We'll do this at the end of every single show. We even have an entire thing built, right? We have like a whole thing built, and we just, I apologize. They killed Charlie, and life went insane. Talk about like having a family conversation here. They killed Charlie live on a live stream, and things have been required of us that I just never thought on an earthly plane we would have to do. And I'm not a victim. And I don't ask for you to be sorry for me. I would ask for your prayers if you're a Christian, if you're a praying person who believes in God, I would ask for your prayers. But we're just doing our best to keep up. And we just sort of like, we've felt a little unbalanced just because of, well, Medal of Freedom ceremonies at the White House, a cascade of new obligations and responsibilities, blood oaths to my friend, things that we were working on that now sort of fall to us to carry the football forward. Again, don't feel sorry for me, but please pray if you're a believer. And if you're not a believer, still pray. That's how you find God. Lady Fire 44 says, Benny, we love you with the black t-shirt. Besides, you have 1 million kids. It's true. Who has the time for that? Suits only on the interviews. I love you, and may the peace of the Lord Jesus Christ be with you. Let me pop up. Let's do photos of the. Let's do a quick photo of the kid. You're right. We do have 1 million kids. Here's Santa's lap from the weekend. It's got extremely busy. Here you go. There. Look at that. I mean, this looks like a refugee camp at this point with the number of kids that we got. Like, look, Santa can't hold all the kids. I'm not sure that this is the exact best photo, but yeah, Santa can no longer hold all of the children. We've reached that point. You can see there, Whitaker, he's my youngest. He's struggling, Yeah. Santa was based. This Santa, I have a video to prove. The Santa was a subscriber. He's like, what's up, man? I got an AR-15 tattooed on my arm. Based Santa. So awesome. He's like, I'm a subscriber. This is great. I love meeting you. I was like, dude, Santa's a subscriber? This is the best news in the world. That's what happened. Anyway, sorry for the rant. I see the chat saying, have 6 more kids. I'm praying for one more. I've said that publicly, and so's my wife. Based Santa. Love based Santa. The chat loves based Santa. Can you grab one or two more? Klein, just to pop them up, and then I'll try and share one more based. We'll do one more based Santa. If Benny starts wearing a suit to this shindig, I'm leaving. No, Booger, 500 US. Booger 500 US, I will do anything for you not to leave. Please. Do you guys want a message from Santa that I filmed that I haven't published yet? Because I haven't even gone through it. Here's a message from base Santa. Yeah, then maybe that'll be a perfect way to end the show, isn't it, Klein? I have a message from base Santa. One or two more. Okay. Yeah, 1 or 2 more. Thank you, Jesus. First, then Santa. Okay, perfect. Yes, that's exactly right, Tuli Mom. Based Santa, baby. Okay, everyone wants the based Santa. All right. Everyone wants the based Santa. Here we go. Maybe we'll bring him into the studio. Maybe I'll fly him in. We could have like a full based Santa show. All right, here we go.
I've told you that I have huge fans here, and it turns out that you got the biggest fan that there is.
Ho, ho, ho! This is the man, the myth, the legend. Benny, give it up.
Yes, Santa's a subscriber. All right, this is early Christmas present for me. This is amazing. Santa Claus, any wisdom or holiday cheer that you can give?
Well, yes, I would really like to see all of you carry the holiday cheer all year long. Be kind to each other. Don't be mean to each other. We're all human beings. Help everybody. You never know what somebody else is going through. You know, you could very well make their day. And when we talk about our veterans, you could very well save their lives. So please, be kind to everybody. God bless. Merry Christmas.
Did you know that Santa's from Texas and that Santa's packing? Yes, that's right. This is based Santa. Merry Christmas, Santa. Merry Christmas.
Packing more than a sleigh. Santa's from Texas. Maybe helping with some of the deportation flights. We don't know. We don't know. We haven't asked. We plan on asking, and we'll join in. We've done a number of ice raids this fall. The ice raid from Santa? Come on. Isn't that what you voted for? Isn't that what you voted for? One final comment here. Jerry, don't make a meme of this, is all I'm asking. Whatever you do, Jerry, don't make a meme of this. Okay? We all know what you're capable of, Jerry. For the love of God, it's Christmas. Pray, amen. That's right. It's probably a beautiful message. But I don't even know what language this is. Klein, what language is this? Like Mandarin to me. It's a Mandarin? Okay. All right. Well, thank you all very much. This has been In the Chat. We even have a special stinger built for it. Here we go. Have a very blessed day. What a funny show. Didn't know that it'd go this way, but you never do. Our verse of the day from Colossians 3:15. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of the body, you were called to be at peace and be thankful. Colossians 3:15. And how do you have peace in an evil world? You wield the sword, the Second Amendment. You ensure that your country is a country of moral and good, righteous and religious men and none other. Mass deportations. And Romans 13, you institute a godly government. That's how you roll, baby. And that's the only way that you can have peace in this great season of peace, and joy, and love. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be happy to roll through December with you. Lots of twists and turns and surprises. Get ready. It's your boy Benny. We march on to victory together. Merry Christmas.
What is that noise?
This is the ghost.
Oh! Oh, hey! Hey, you all still talking in here?
What are you doing?
Her back went out, and I just did the best thing, which is get right on the muscles so they don't seize up.
Just add some heat to it. Merry Christmas.
Next year, I'm gonna ask Santa for breast implants because I'm impatient with my body.
So good. Ah, gosh! It's gone into a real bad spasm, so I put a yoga move on her.
Allow me to introduce myself. Gus Polinski, Polka King of the Midwest. The Kenosha Kickers. No? That's okay. I thought you might have recognized. Anyways, I had a few hits a few years ago. That's why, just polka, 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 polka. No? Twin Lakes polka, Damavuji polka, a.k.a. Kiss Me polka, polka twist.
Well, these are songs.
Yeah.
Where the truth gon' be?
faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to life. Liberty to light, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light, bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.